Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel and the podcast Soul Awakening with Shantia. Welcome. Just being extra awkward. So I'm kind of going off, well, I always go off script, but I have a topic here, but today I'm also just going to talk about some of the things that I've been putting my attention on and maybe just see if this conversation, this discussion, one-sided, albeit, will help to enlighten you in some way, shape, or form in your life. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out any of the previous episodes of the podcast, Soul Awakening with Shantia. This is part of a playlist, so any of those episode topics you're interested in, I'd highly recommend that you check out. And as of lately, I've been doing a lot of research with the breaking free of the matrix and trying to understand this concept. Now, I know I'm going through this. I know I'm going through an ascension process, and you just know. You can't really fake this kind of thing. It's a bit of a painful process, and it's not something where it's like, yes, I take so much pleasure in just how advanced I am as a species, and I'm ascending, and yes, I pay the price of pain in some ways, and I sacrifice some things, and you have to do what you have to do. Like, no, it's like, this is not what I thought was happening. Like, you can't prepare mentally enough. All the reading in the world cannot prepare you enough for the actual ascension process that happens, and the rebirth that's taking shape in society, or just collectively it's taking place. And I just wanted to talk and bring up some of these topics that have been of interest to me as of lately. So one of the people who I like to look into is PT, or Prash Trivedi. So I've been following Prash for about 9 years, and I go and check his channel every year. I always want to know, hey, what's PT doing? And originally when I found him through his Nakshatras book. So originally I found PT through his Nakshatra books here, or his Nakshatra book. He also has a Rahu Ketu book as well that I've been looking into. Just because I was interested in understanding my birth chart, understanding myself, who I was. And then he did an interview. Kapil was the one. Kapil Raj. I wanted to say Prash, but it's not. It's Kapil Raj. KRS Astrology. He's like one of the bigger Vedic astrologers on YouTube. So I found him years ago. I was following Kapil, got into Vedic astrology. He did an interview with Prash, and it was so interesting and captivating because Prash was so direct. He had this way of just being very direct and just kind of cutthroat, which isn't surprising because if you look at his chart, he has his sun in Kritika, and Kritika is very critical. It's about the scissors. And I've noticed that the earth signs are the most critical. Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, they're so hypercritical, especially if you have some air in your chart, which he is an Aquarius ascendant. And he has, I think, his Saturn and Venus and Gemini. Yeah. So he's definitely a thinker. He's a thought leader. He's a teacher. He's an avatar. If you look at his book, so the book I've been looking into is Scriptures by PT, and I would recommend that. There's so much truth in that book. The reason why I'm drawn to Prash every time is because even though I question his statements about, like, the earth is flat, and this is that, and this is that, going through certain experiences in the 9 years that I've known about him has taught me a lot about how relevant he was about so many things. And he's just very straightforward. He's a straight shooter. He's very honest. And so I've been reading his scriptures book. It's actually kind of a quick read. And he speaks in poem. He speaks in song. He is also a musician. He plays the guitar and he sings his songs, not to be like this grand musician, not to be popular or famous, but he's all about channeling messages, and he plays music with this, maybe a combination of like pleasure, enjoyment of doing it, but also, he has all that air energy. He's receiving the messages. He's an antenna. And in 2019, I started writing songs, not because someone told me to. I actually always wanted to write songs. I just didn't know how to find the tunes to it. And I found Soundtrap, and I found Soundtrap, and I started using that to mix songs and make music. And then I started just singing my own songs and singing the words that came to mind. And I noticed it was messages coming through. And then eventually, it became me interpreting messages on my Beautiful Awakening channel, where I talk about, it's tarot, and I'm just like channeling, picking up messages, being the antenna, because honestly, I was just trying to figure out what to do with it. I was just trying to figure out what to do with myself, period, and point blank. So I've been really into his work. I've been watching a lot of his videos. Truman Show on that channel, the Truman channel, they do a lot of, he did countless, like over 80 interviews with PT, and he's right now doing a series that he's adding on to where he talks about the SciPTures book. And I'm like, that's crazy. I'm reading it right now. I've been reading it. And it's so true for me. So many of those things are true that maybe I'll do a short series on this channel talking about it, because people are always looking for the information to help liberate them, to free them, like someone to guide them and show them, okay, how do we operate in this world? And it just seems like PT, he has accumulated so much wonderful experience and wisdom. But not only that, he has an answer for everything. And it just seems like he's explored all of these ideas and concepts. It also shows that he keeps himself open and receptive to those messages as he's communicating with people. And he lets people come. He's like, if you want to come and ask me questions, I will help you. I will assist you however needed. So I think PT is great. And, one of my favorite things about him is that he's not interested in numbers. He never was. He is famous for this book. He's famous for this. He wrote this, he found knowledge about the different nakshatras between the age of like 18 and like 26 or something like that. I don't know. He's very young. You see his picture back there. He's very young when he wrote this. So he's just been an open channel for so long. And I've been finding myself just drawn to his interviews constantly, even though, some things I might question for myself and I might be skeptical because I might not agree. So that's what I've been doing. During this Jupiter and Mrigashira nakshatra period of time through June, this is a wonderful period to just absorb that insight and knowledge. When Jupiter goes through Ardra, which is also in Gemini, which PT has in his chart, he has a Venus in Ardra. That can also be an opportunity and a period for you to continuously learn and strengthen your mind during this period. So always ask questions, and I've just been going through a really fun learning period. I think I've always loved learning. I have a 1 degree Mercury-Jupiter conjunction in my chart, and so I love learning. I love learning. I love receiving knowledge. I love just researching. I already love it, and it's already in my chart, but being able to do it during this time of healing for me has been very powerful, and I love talking about it. So PT always talks about how important it is to speak mantras, to speak repeatedly. And I don't know if I just intuitively knew this, but I started video journaling back in 2012 when I got my laptop. And that laptop lasted me until last year. It lasted me a long time. And I would video journal using my laptop, talking about things that I was going through in my life. And then I would also talk about things I was aspiring to as well. That was around the time, 2012, 2013, was around the time I experienced this sort of moment of enlightenment where I felt like my heart chakra opened. I read The Alchemist, and I thought it was The Alchemist that changed my life, but it wasn't The Alchemist that changed my life. I think it was a combination of timing and receptivity. I opened my heart, because The Alchemist was a perfect formula. If you've ever read The Alchemist, it almost sounds very poetic. It sounds like an ongoing song that never ends, and it's so beautiful. If someone were to put that into a movie form, which I honestly don't think, I'm surprised no one's done it yet, but I don't think anyone should, because it's a spiritual, what do you call it? Transmission. It's a book that creates a spiritual transmission. And I just don't think one would get that in a movie or in a film. And we're already so dependent on this physical reality to tell us about ourselves that I think it would maybe misdirect people in the symbolism of certain things, because you just couldn't capture the essence of the book in humans and characters who themselves didn't embody these energies. And I'm sure they would choose actors that somewhat embody, actors don't play their roles on accident. They have to be aligned with the energy somewhat, but they're actors, they're acting. They're not actually doing that real deep internal work for themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't be actors to begin with. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things I'm opening myself up to. And I think the biggest thing I want to encourage you to do is just embrace your truth. Because I think the truth sometimes could be very, I don't know, it could sound a little off-putting or too honest to some people. And what I appreciate about PT is he doesn't hesitate to correct people. He doesn't hesitate to tell people, no, that's not right. And I like that clear sense of morality and directness, because I think even myself, with me having Libra influences, sometimes I just want to find a diplomatic approach to how I say things, that I don't want to offend anyone. But I appreciate that about PT. But I think, as I get older, I'm going to be like, who cares? Probably. Maybe just a little bit more. Yeah, so I've just been doing a lot of research, watching a lot of his videos, and I'm just like, wow, like a lot of these things I learned in the past few years. I learned like relationships, creative codependency. I've always thought about this, and I thought the way that they talk about relationships in society is just not what it is. It's just not this happy marriage and the baby and the carriage idyllic image. Like, it's a lot of work, and that has a lot to do with, I always say this, the lack of foundation that people have established for themselves. And for me personally, I just felt like I had so much work to do on myself, and I didn't feel like I was rejecting myself by choosing to be alone. It actually felt right. Like, people didn't really understand. They're like, why do you want to be alone? That's weird. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's not weird. I feel so at peace. I try as often as I can to be alone, because I find myself in constant circumstances where I'm around people. So to me, I can't get enough alone time, and I want to pick and choose who I give my energy to, and who I'm surrounded by, which I can't customize it 24/7, but I'm very picky about what I give my energy to. And I'm not one of those people where it's like, I know some people, they're very energetically sensitive. If they walk through a store or a mall, they're drained. That's not me. I don't mind being in crowds. I don't get drained. I think I'm an energy empath. I don't get anxious in public. I'm not like a Zen, peaceful, meditating 24/7 type of person who's just so grounded. And that's why I think I just flow. And I just don't make a big thing about it. And I also feel like I'm an energy empath, but I'm not an emotional empath. So I don't feel energetically drained around being around people or crowds. It's just, I want to be doing something else. Usually I'm kind of counting down the hours to when I can be alone and start researching again or creating something. That's my favorite thing to do, is just create, learn. Those are my favorite things to do. So, when I'm around people, it's fun. I really enjoy humans and their personalities of all states of consciousness. I feel like all humans are very interesting, but I'm such a strong 12th house person. Like, I just want to kind of be alone, just like researching. I want to be in my own bubble, in my own world, experiencing my own perception of things. I feel like I'm coming to discover more and more what it is I am, and I'm a antenna. I'm a constant antenna, but I'm also, it's so interesting, as you rise into higher states of consciousness, you realize you're just here to exist and prioritize yourself and your well-being. And it's so interesting what a lot of people are going through collectively. There are people who are somewhat spiritual, but they're not esoteric spiritual, who are going through a very similar phase as I am. They're going through some sort of ascension. They're finding that their material situations are quite limited, or their resources are limited, and it's forcing them to be creative in different ways. And it's also forcing them in isolation to spend that time alone. And that's why I want to encourage people to understand. I mean, if you guys are watching this channel, Soul Awakening, you obviously know about this. Some part of you knows that there's some bigger picture here. There's something else going on. And I've been going through such an intense, expansive phase where there's just not enough time in the day to learn about everything that's going on. Like right now, I've just been sort of educating myself on the 14 layers of the planes of existence. I want to call it koshas, but it's not koshas because that's something else. Lokas? Yeah, the 14 lokas. And Earth is like right in the middle. And I'm almost tempted to like want to interview PT because I want to ask them questions. And one of them is, I've realized, I thought it was interesting that one of the lower, almost the hell, the lowest koshas is like a cave. It's supposed to be a representation of a cave, or one of the lower koshas is a representation of the cave. And then one of them is serpents. And then, you got demons. And it was so interesting. As I've been going through my ascension process, I feel like I've experienced those different layers. Like I've experienced like mental, psychological hell, terror, fear, the serpent energies, the cave energy. So I wonder if when we're going through our ascension process, we're actually activating our existence on all planes of existence. And it's like shooting back and forth, and then it's just like finding balance somewhere in the middle. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But maybe it has something to do with this really intense harmonizing experience where all, these high layers of heavenly realms come together with these lower realms, and you just find perfect balance here in your earthly body, and you're completely integrated with all energies. I've mentioned a lot about the shadow integration, but you're experiencing both. You're experiencing both a shadow and a light integration, and you're experiencing these extremes and this contrast. It keeps doing this and pulling you back in the middle. And I wonder if that's kind of what's going on when we're going through our ascension. We're kind of bouncing back between shadow and light to find perfect balance in our human form. It's fascinating. I could go on and on about this, but the other topic I wanted to discuss here is the proper and the improper uses of astrology and tarot. So when I first started my channel, I had a little bit of a mini crisis where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I feel some sort of heavy weight of responsibility when I'm talking to people, even though it's just on camera. I feel like if I don't speak the truth, then I'm not doing a good job. Like it's going to create bad karma for me. And I felt that strictness like 2 to 3 months into my channel. And prior, I would watch other tarot readings. It looked really fun. It looked really creative. But I think because I've been, on the seeking journey for 9 years, and I had learned tarot later on in my life as an adult, it seemed as though I had done the grounding work prior that would not allow me to compromise my integrity. So I'm going to talk about this, and I know this might be challenging because I understand a lot of us go to astrology, we go to tarot because we want the answer, we want gratification, we want validation. And I'm telling you, knowing about this is just going to make you that much more stronger. Acknowledging this is going to make you a lot more stronger, and realizing like you can handle this. And I've been listening to so much of PT's work, and the thing is, even before he said that, I would say the same things as him. I would say it's the day-to-day work. I would say it's about the foundation. It's about your habits. And I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's just my tendency. And I think part of it is that. And he's a Taurus, so he's all about the earth energy too. But at the same time, he's a sun in Taurus, he's a moon in Virgo. I just realized that. Yeah, so he's always talking about discipline and grounding work and the foundational work and doing the day-to-day work, which I'm like, sounds like you're speaking your chart, sir. And sounds like I'm speaking my chart too. I'm just speaking what I know and what I understand for myself to be true. But PT has really helped to re-educate me in understanding how important it is to understand that everything requires work in this world, okay? There is no shortcut. And so we have to watch for certain tarot channels or astrology channels if they're not helping to give you advice. And that's what PT does. He doesn't go around talking about transits and energies and all this and that, and this is what's going to happen when sun enters into this. He talks about this is what's going to happen collectively. This is what you have. This is how you can use it. And I've been saying this. Maybe I got it from him. I think I just knew on my own. But I've been always saying that the planets aren't bad. There are no such thing as bad like energies in your chart or in tarot. Everything is giving you guidance to create a better experience for yourself. That's the whole point, is to learn how to improve. So I'm kind of giving you a hint into the proper and improper uses already. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. Now, the first thing, the umbrella theme here, is the proper usage of astrology and tarot is intention and attention. I used to say these in my videos a lot. I didn't quote it from someone. Maybe I did. The thing is, if I did, I don't remember. I'm not good with quotes. But I would say this a lot, is that the more intention and attention you put on something, the clearer the outcome. So it is important that when you're exposing yourself to astrology, tarot, anything in this world, you think about your intention. Why am I interested in this? And for me, I have a very guilty conscience. And I know that a lot of divine children, those of us who identify as divine children, we have very guilty conscience. We cannot just do things and be okay with that. I thought it was so interesting growing up. I had all of the temptations around me and I just wasn't interested. I was like, oh, that's bad. I had the opportunity to smoke if I wanted to with my friends when I was not even, 7? I was maybe 5 or 6. I had the opportunity to drink plenty of times if I wanted to. I was never interested in it. I just didn't care. I'm like, this is weird. I don't get it. I didn't get the party scene. I thought I skipped the phase. I was like, I think I missed a phase in my life and maybe I'm going to party later on in my life. Turns out I'm never going to experience that phase. Never had a party phase in my life. I tried a couple times to hang out with friends in my early college years, maybe, mid-college years, but I was just like, this is kind of boring. It's okay. I just felt like everything was lackluster. So, sometimes we just have very guilty conscience, and sometimes we just know, okay, if I'm not going into this with the right intentions, it's going to backfire. And everything does when we don't go in with pure intentions. So the attention you give to something also, you want to know that you're giving the right kind of attention. Okay. So the first improper usage of astrology and tarot is to focus on others. So sometimes people want to know what other people are thinking about them. So that's why I had to stop doing those readings. Now, I decided to leave all my readings on my channel because I want people to see my journey. Okay? I want you to know that I messed up in the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. I was ignorant. And now I know a little bit better. And I'm learning more and more each time. But some of those videos that are there to focus on other people. You want to know about someone else. You want to know about how someone else feels about you, how they think about you. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes that does come through in the readings, but at this point, all I ever see is love. Okay, I don't get hating energy. I get conflicting experiences where we are reacting. I'll pick that up, but I'm not here to pick up, and I honestly can't really pick up how someone else feels or thinks about you. All right, maybe I can pick up their energy, but focusing on other people is a bit of a rabbit hole you don't really want to go down. And the thing is, I like my me times, so I honestly didn't really care that much about what other people think. So trying to think about what other people think or using it to manipulate or control other people. So sometimes we don't know that we're doing this. We do this subconsciously. Is we want information on people because we want to manipulate the situation so we can get a favorable outcome from them. But life is not about what you can siphon out of people. It's about what you can offer here, and learning how to create healthy boundaries so you can have a healthy exchange. And the healthy exchange just happens when you learn how to honor and respect yourself. So since I was young, I've always had very high standards. And I always like to say I've always had very strong boundaries. I wasn't okay with the shenanigans. I remember I was hanging out with this girl in elementary school, and she started hanging out with this other girl. And I was just like, I don't know about that girl. I just get like weird vibes or whatever. And so we broke up. Like, we stopped being friends because she was, at the time, you know how you always have a best friend, like another best friend every 5 months, right? When you're in elementary. At the time, she was my best friend. And then I was just like, nope. And I was just, sometimes I didn't know what that was. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just being selfish and I don't want to share my best friend. But, and that might have been part of it too. But the weird thing was I was right. Intuitively, years later, I was right. And that was the thing that kind of weirded me out all the time, is I was like, I'm not like trying to play detective. And I didn't really have like this intense moral compass as a young lady in elementary school, where I was thinking to myself, I know better than these people. They don't know what they're doing. But there was something going on there where I just had standards, and I was like, I don't like this. And the way that things would unfold, I ended up being right. When I felt myself wanting to pull away from people, sometimes I found that interesting. I was like, I don't know, there's something about this energy. You know, I know this person is being nice to me, but I'm feeling I want to pull away from their energy. And it would feel like this cautious gut feeling inside of me that was saying, something's off here. And turns out, when you would find out what this person was doing, people were always doing things when I wasn't around, because I'm the sober person. Like, I'm the one who's just not getting into those shenanigans. But then when you would hear about what these people were doing, I was like, oh, what the? You have a whole nother personality that you don't share with me. And I think these people just figured that I just wasn't that person. And I often found that that's the people I attract in my life. Like, they would always be more clear-headed around me, and they would always call me like pure. You're pure, you're innocent. And I'm like, maybe I am, I don't know. But the thing is, I think this is just a personality trait, okay? Like, I've always been this way, always been that way. And I thought I was just like, oh, I mean, I'm still in my youthful, childish phase. At some point, I will grow out of this. Never grow out of it, okay? I literally am the same since I was a kid. So instead of trying to manipulate or control others or focus on what others think, it's all about astrology, and tarot is an opportunity for you to learn about yourself. That is what is there. This is about you, okay? Not a narcissistic you, right? This is all about intention. Okay, I'll get into the other parts of the narcissistic you later, but this is about learning about yourself. So use tarot, use astrology. The first thing you need to do is use it to learn about yourself and study yourself and practice self-inquiry. Who am I? Why do I do that? Why do I think like this? How do I think? That is going to help create so much peace for the rest of your life. I was like an obsessive observer of the way that I thought and saw things. I would just always wonder, like, wow, because I'm essentially learning how this human machine operates by studying myself, studying my chart, studying myself. And I really wanted just to find a purpose. I wanted to find out, what am I here to do? I wasn't really as interested in like, who am I here to impress or be with? I was more like, who am I here to be? Like, how do I be awesome in this world? And it's so funny because I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, okay, I have creative abilities. I have communication skills. Like, what the heck am I supposed to do with any of this? And that's when I found tarot in these past couple years. It like helped me realize that I'm a dilettante. So we all have skills, like random skills and abilities, and it can be used in an infinite amount of ways. The higher you rise up in consciousness, the more you realize it's not about a career path. It's all about being purposeful in the way that the universe calls for you to be purposeful. And sometimes that purposefulness is really just about you embracing, taking care of yourself when we just don't, as humans, we just don't even understand this. It starts with us. And PT really stresses this. He stresses the basics and the foundation. And he's constantly saying, like, how are you supposed to get in relationships, worry about your seventh house when you don't even know how to operate the first house? You don't know how to be in your body. You don't know how to take care of it. And so that's what I spent a lot of these years focusing on. Primarily is like, how do I eat better, have better food habits? My food habits have been like here and in there as of lately because I don't have as much access to like resources as much as I used to. So I eat what I can that's healthy. But early on, it was in 6th grade, I learned I had heart palpitations and I couldn't eat as much bread or noodles. I ate a lot of that growing up, and I started to get really bad heart palpitations when I was eating it. So I started thinking about my health. And then I ruled out soda. By the time I was in high school, I stopped drinking soda. I was not interested in that. Even now when I drink it, I'm like, I don't know how people drink it. It literally tastes like water or sugar in a can. It's just, ooh, and it just, makes my teeth hurt. So, I'm all about just like water mainly. And then I like tea and coffee from time to time and a little milk just here and there, even though I am lactose. Yes. So use tarot, use astrology to learn about yourself first. Especially before you start doing readings for other people. And what's funny is that's exactly what I did with it. I used it for myself. I wasn't trying to do readings for other people. I was just like, I'll just use it for myself and see if I can improve in some ways. And then at some point I realized I wanted to help people in some way and use my communication skills. And that's when I felt called to do tarot, because I was like, it fused the spiritual and my communication skills together. So it felt like a perfect fit. Okay, 2. The improper use is instant gratification. Yeah, there's no shortcuts in life, and we have to do the work for everything. Everything is an energetic exchange. And what's happening often is that we're either working we're doing inner work or we're doing outer work or a combination of both. We're usually every day we're doing a combination of both. You can't do inner and outer work without, it's like you have a body 24/7. So you're doing both all the time. So we are called to do a certain amount of inner work and outer work discipline that helps us to feel alignment with ourselves. So the improper use is instant gratification, where you're seeking, and this is why I stopped listening to, I had to stop listening to some channels because I was like, this information sounds right, but I don't hear the advice. Like, what am I doing to get to this space? And do I just like sit here and just like hope it all works out dandy great? So the tricky part, and I think this kind of leans into my next one. The tricky part about some of the tarot readings or astrology readings, mostly tarot, is that some of those people are getting crown chakra highs. So they're getting all of these energies from like the angelic realms. And it feels so like love and light and positive. The thing is, you're human. You're a fusion of both, dark and shadow. And as a human, your purpose is to exist and to know how to use your body, use your mind. And so a lot of people go to tarot readings so that they can find, who's my future husband, my hubby? When am I going to get $1 million? When am I going to get my dream job? And that is the improper use of tarot and astrology. That's kind of why I just do weekly readings I feel called to do intuitively. And it doesn't matter. I couldn't even warp or manipulate the messages unless I wanted to lie to myself and everybody else. I couldn't lie. You know, the reason why I'm so straightforward and able to follow somewhat of a dialogue when I'm speaking is because I'm not thinking about how to manipulate the conversation. I'm literally just saying the first thing that comes to mind. I'm like, okay, got to work on this, this, and this. This is what's going on. This is what I'm picking up. And I always get a combination of both things. I get a combination of beautiful energies of the divine saying you are loved and you are supported, which is wonderful. But I also get the responsibility part where I'm always hearing the work that one needs to do to establish a connection to this experience. And so before I even did tarot, I was already doing that grounding work. I was learning about myself. I was observing myself. I was learning how to take care of myself. And so when I started doing tarot, I was like, why am I not getting all these these messages about someone's boyfriend and all that? Like, I'm not getting any of this stuff. I'm getting like weird spiritual essence stuff with like grounded, diligent hard work too that one needs to put into themselves in the relationships. And that was because the messages I'm able to interpret is interpreted through me. So the more work I put into myself, the more accurate the messages get. That's what I learned. So before, when I had more of a distorted image of myself, and the distorted image is like you're either very insecure or you have an inflated ego, which, we sometimes we gravitate or we pull between both energies where we are inflated with our ego at times, and then at times we feel very insecure. And sometimes people go to tarot so that they can get rid of that insecurity. If that's why you're going to tarot, it's not going to work, one. And two, you got to stop doing that. You go there for confirmation. You go there for confirmation or validation or assurance on your path and the work that you're already putting into yourself. So I'm just reading the energies as is. I'm not making up stuff about, I literally can see in the cards, looks like you're working on something. Looks like you're learning how to take care of yourself. So I try to watch what I say because I got the Sagittarius energy and that Leo, okay? I can be overly optimistic where I'm like, this is so great. And sometimes that's a bit of my default language I'm leaning into. And I have to work on that. But by the end of the day, reality is very simple. It's very slow paced. It's quite boring. And you have to move through every second of the day of life and live every second of the day of life to get to those marker points in life where you're like, whoa, look what I achieved. I'm like, you didn't just achieve it out of nowhere. Okay. You achieved it from an accumulation of work you've been putting into it. So yeah, everything I've ever done, I worked really hard at it and I've been passionate about it, just like crazy passionate about it. And I obsess over things and ideas and I just like put insane hours into it. And that's how I learn how to improve. And that's how it works for everybody. There's not a single person where you're just like, wow, they just waltzed in here just like knowing how to do this. Michael Jackson, okay, working since he was a kid, incredibly talented. His father would like, let's go kids, rehearse until you get it better. He wasn't great. Like, he's a prodigy. Yeah, he had talent, but he would have been just like any other person on the street, any boy on the street, if he didn't put more work into refining it. The refinement, our ability to go up there and perform in front of someone, that comes from the work you put in over and over. Over and over. So that's something I noticed when I was in art school, is every time when I would work on things, I would put insane hours into it. And I'm like, I'm not good out of nowhere. I'm obsessive. Like, I would just keep working on it until it's refined and then I get what I want or get sort of more of the outcome that I'm wanting out of it. I'm not trying to, I didn't just come out of nowhere and just like, wow, you're so great. Like, no, I put really crazy hours and I have crazy discipline. When I love something, I have crazy discipline. Crazy discipline. And there are other areas where I procrastinate and I just don't really care. So I'm not like a perfect human being. I'm just, when it comes to things I'm passionate about, I have crazy discipline. So yeah, nobody has like the trick, okay? So if anyone's ever selling you a quick fix trick, it ain't gonna work. It's about the day-to-day work. And most people, they just want to hear the answer, but they don't want to do the work to get there. Most people generally, I'm saying, honestly, most people don't want to do the work, but pretty much everyone has to. Okay, so I will give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I know everybody has to struggle to the top. Okay, I know you are putting in work. I know they are putting work. I know that every single person is putting in work. It's just we get lazy and we have lazy mindsets. And sometimes we think that things come easy in life and nothing comes easy. And I had a hard time embracing this philosophy. Like my dad would always say life is hard. And I'm like, no, life ain't hard. Because I felt like he used it as a way to validate a reason to be bitter about life. And I didn't want that. I'm like, no, I want to believe that things can get better and improve, which is a better approach. But he was right. Turns out parents were right. We were just annoyed at having to listen to them. So the improper use is instant gratification. The proper use is to improve. The proper use is not instant gratification. It's to improve and get step-by-step advice. So when I'm doing these weekly readings, usually they're kind of the same. Because we're just like inching a little bit closer to our goal at a time. But they're fun ways to just receive those messages. And that's why I'm like, I can't do more than one reading a week. There just wouldn't be a reason to do a daily reading. And some people, they're just like, they want to keep hearing that positive message to believe that they're going to get there, which I get it. The good thing about the proper usage of tarot is you can use it as mantras, and you can use it as a way to reprogram your thinking. I've said this in my videos many times, even before I was getting back into Prash work. But you can use the tarot to re-engineer the way that you think about yourself, the way that you think about life. Is this? Okay. It's mostly in focus. My glasses on, or contacts, so. All right, the third improper use is to inflate your ego. So whenever someone says, oh, you're going to be great at this, that's instant gratification. We have to watch out for that. So anytime a tarot reader or an astrologer inflates your ego, just be careful of that, okay? Nothing in life is like, oh, it's just going to waltz into your life. No, nothing just waltz into your life, okay? Believe me, if you are able to achieve something like some sort of promotion, if you saw someone, it looks like they're living a wonderful life, best believe they're doing a ton of work behind the scenes that you are not seeing. Everyone is doing a ton of work. And so instead of us going around judging people for all of the, let's say they have an idyllic life, why don't we admire the amount of work that they put into it to get there? So while I don't believe in the traditional ideas and concepts about relationships, I do know that every relationship requires a lot of inner work to get there. And even if you get in that relationship young, that's even more work where it can be harder, because at times we're spending so much time projecting our ideals onto people or our fears onto them. We're not seeing them for who they are, and we're not giving them a chance to just be who they are. And then after a while, you're like, oh, maybe I should just let them be them. Or you get stuck in a cycle. So that's the only thing about getting into relationships before you've done the foundational work for yourself. So as I mentioned before, what some readers get caught up in, so astrologers will say some things are good or bad. Like, this is good, this is bad. I never believed in that. I was like, that's just pointless. Like, how can we actually show these people how to use this energy? Now, my life, the way that my chart is arranged, it's all about dissolution. I have K2, strong K2 influences. I have a K2 in the 8th house. I have Magha, Mula in my chart. I have 3 planets in the 12th house. I have a K2 in the 8th house. Did I say that? Yeah. So a lot of my life focus is about dissolution. Yes, there are going to be astrologers who will tell you at times, this is a good result, or you're going to get a bad result. Now, Prash teaches this, and Prash has been teaching astrology for a very long time. He channeled a lot of the knowledge in this book, which is brilliant. But what he says is that you can always use the energies. You can always use the energies in a way that helps you. All planets are good. All houses are good. There are no bad placements that are focused on bad results, because you have to understand, like, we're here to use our free will to choose. Carolyn Mace, her whole career is all about the power of your choice. The power of your choice decides the kind of life you get to create for yourself. Now, while my chart states that my whole life is supposed to be about dissolution, I can either choose to suffer because of it, or I can choose to work with it. What I found interesting is I had a relative who had a very similar position in their chart, and they suffered. Like, they had a hard time with the dissolution energy. It seems like they couldn't, like, it was overbearing. And for me, it has been overbearing at times, but because a lot of my chart is in alignment with dissolution, I think there's a peaceful acceptance that I have towards it, that even though I felt like my life was kind of passive and there wasn't a lot going on, there wasn't a lot of activity and drama or whatever happening in it, I also felt like that was right. And I was just sort of slowly figuring out and coming to this grounded acceptance that this was me. This is my life. I'm meant to spend a lot of time alone. I'm meant to spend a lot of time in quiet. And I use a lot of this time to dissolve the illusions. And the illusion is about a perception. It's the way that you saw the world. So part of my task is not to see the world as people project it as, or for the layers or the falsities that they see in it. I'm here to see the world for what it actually is and to be at peace with it. The other thing is that tarot readers sometimes get a crown chakra high, as I do. I don't know if you want to say I do anymore. I did. I think when I first started doing readings, I was like, whoa, what is this? And I think that's what a lot of those, some of those angelic readings can be focused on. It's really cool to connect with angels, that's really nice. But as long as that tarot reader or an astrologer is giving you practical advice on how you can improve your life day to day, then they're helping you. But sometimes the tarot community, it's all about inflating the ego. And the thing about it is I do believe you create negative karma when you're giving people inaccurate advice that's inflating their ego. So there are readers who I'm like, dang, this feels amazing. This energy feels great. Like, I think you are channeling the angels. This feels amazing. But it starts to inflate the ego because it creates this high sense of self-importance. And the thing about being here in this human body is you are here to learn humility. And listen to the word humility. There's humiliation in there. You are going to have to go through life experiences where you're humiliated. You're not great. You're not the star of the show. People treat you not so great. People are mean to you or disrespect you. And you're going to have to learn how to accept it here. Okay? So the issue with the crown chakra high readings is that it inflates your sense of self-importance, where you think you are this greater than whatever thing. But the thing is that confidence is supposed to be coming from a knowingness of who you truly are. And I think a lot of people go to it as a dopamine high, a serotonin escape. That's what a lot of that fun music is. It's like a dopamine and serotonin escape, where it's like a drug to the brain. And it just feels like, oh, I'm so great. Same reason why people go to drugs is because they're looking to feel great and wonderful. But I'm like, can you feel great and wonderful without it? And generally, I'm like, no, I don't feel great and wonderful, but I feel pretty good. I feel fine. And I think that's great. Like, that's the best place to be in life, is in this like neutral, content space where I'm not needing to be important. I'm not waiting for an important unfolding or thing to manifest in my life to feel this importance. Like, oh, you're going to be so great. You're so deserving of all of these wonderful things in life. And the thing is, we're all deserving of beautiful things. Yeah. You are worth it. But you have to earn it too. Like, you have to learn how to work into being confident in yourself. You have to learn how to relax. You have to learn how to be patient with things too. So the thing is, those energies aren't incorrect in telling you about your wonderful essence. It's just that it's one-sided. The other side is like, you're not so great sometimes. Sometimes you're cranky and you can be mean to people and you think mean thoughts and you're passive. We can be passive aggressive as humans at times. And like, where's that part of it? You have to acknowledge that part. Okay, you can be passive aggressive. And the tarot reader, it's not like their job to tell you all your flaws and what you're needing to work on. That's actually for you to figure out on your own. The tarot reader should be encouraging you to work on yourself and to acknowledge the things that you aren't working on and things that you can work on. And that's what I do readings for. I tell people, you got to work on this, okay? And we always have homework. It doesn't end. You're never going to get to a point where it's like all perfect. You're all good to go. Science still delivered. So long as you're breathing, you're here to do work. And if you're recycled, reincarnated, whatever, you're here to do work. So keep working on yourself, being consistent, doing the day-to-day stuff. You don't eat healthy just one day. This is the issue with diets, is people think a diet is going to solve their whole problem. I'm like, no, it's literally what you're putting in your mouth, in your body every day. That is how you're going to be able to manage it. And they have this thing where they call obesity a disease. And I'm like, now people think they have a chronic disease of eating unhealthy. That's just another way for the doctors to tell you to come take their pills and their medicines instead of just paying attention to what you cook, what you put on your plate, and what you put in your mouth. People just aren't paying attention. They're just looking for a fix. I'm like, there wouldn't be a need for a fix if the foundational work was being done. And so, it's important. I took a healthy food course thing of the sort. I've bought books from people. I've cooked those dishes to learn how to weave out sugar and other things. And I have very strict way of approach to food. Now, if I'm living with people, it's very different. I'm very flexible, very flexitarian. But when I'm by myself, there are certain things I just won't buy. It doesn't even make it through the door for me because I just won't. Because I'm like, it's just temptation staring me in the eye and I don't want it around me. There's this constant voice in my head that's saying, you need chocolate. You need chocolate. So instead of us using it to inflate our ego and getting that crown chakra high that warps our own perception of who we are, which is a flawed human being, that we are a flawed human being that has this beautiful being as well. It's a part of. But the proper usage is to heal or to shift into higher states of consciousness. If you want to feel better in life, it's all about shifting into a higher state of consciousness. And this is done from the ground up. It's done from how you take care of your body, how you're eating, how you're resting, all the way to how you're thinking, what mantras you're saying, if you're taking time to being quiet or to meditate, and more importantly, to reflect. Reflect. Why am I doing this? And I was always like that, but that's very Virgo-esque of me. I'm always just I always had a notepad or a list I was making. And I'm like, I gotta work on this. I gotta work on this. So yeah, we just have to pay attention on the things that we need to work on and it will improve. It's that wonderful. You don't need to hire a personal trainer or a psychiatrist to know what's wrong with you. You just need to be your own teacher and your own guide. Be a better guide and teacher for yourself. You're with yourself every day. You're the best teacher you're ever going to have to live the best quality of life that you want. And guess what? That's an option. That's the beautiful part of life. It is an option to be happy and to be fulfilled. So in order for us to not be inflated, have an inflated ego and get caught up in the crown chakra high, we're going to have to get grounded. So this just means creating a relationship to your body and this present reality. So I like to, you guys have heard on my other channel, I love to talk about movies. And my Saturn Pisces video, I love to talk about movies and shows, but I don't, how do I say this? I watch it, but these days I watch everything to learn. There are so many shows, I've tried watching things and I'm just like, I can't watch this. I can barely get past 5 to 10 minutes because it's just not, I'm like, is this going to get any better? And it doesn't get any better. I'm not learning anything. This is not improving the quality of my life. It's not even entertaining. It's not even funny. It's not funny. It's not even entertaining. So these days I watch things for the sake of this is a really interesting concept or idea. And I watch movies or shows to study. certain concepts and ideas that want to come through and just kind of think about life. But yeah, there are not a lot of things I can watch for like entertainment. I mainly watch things to study people. It's my favorite thing. So paying attention, this is again getting back to that first point we were making about intention and attention. Everything was about attention. So pay attention to those astrology advices you're hearing. You know, if anyone's telling you it's going to be great and grand, it's not. Nothing's going to be great and grand in life. Oh, everything's just going to be wonderful. You know, there's going to be mixed experiences that are happening. When it comes to your astrology chart, if you follow Vedic astrology, this will be dependent on the dasha you're experiencing. That will produce more of the results, and then your intention and attention that you give to it will produce even better results. So for a lot of the people who achieve some sort of success during their dasha periods, that's because they were putting the work behind it. They were like activating that energy, getting it going, charging it up, and it was like, whoo, we are going to give you something beautiful. And so as of lately, I've noticed in the collective readings, sources often saying, keep working, keep putting in the work, keep going, keep building those muscles. And I'm just like, when I first got those messages, I was like, huh? How do you do that? And then I started following the advice. I started applying it to my life and started taking some bolder steps, such as like leaving my job. And boy, did those, like the gym work get more and more intense. So I was lifting some 5-pound weights and I switched to lifting some 40-pound weights. I'm like, I'm lifting 40-pound spiritual weights now. Before, when I started this 2 years ago, I never would have thought I could lift 40-pound weights in each arm, spiritual weights. But now I can. And that's the incredible part about life is if you are taking the time to reflect and think about where you were at versus where you're at now, you will see, wow, it's wonderful. And it's really good to just like look in the mirror, look at your muscles, look at your spiritual muscles. And you can look at your spiritual muscles in your journaling and realize, wow, look at how far I come. Like before, I didn't even think this was a possibility. I'm in a new reality. I'm in a different state of consciousness. Before, I honestly didn't think the way I'm living now was a possibility. Like they kept telling me to keep going, keep stretching it. I'm like, are you crazy? Like this is insane. And they just kept telling me, no, you can do it. You got this. And I'm like, who does this? Who lives this way? The monks and the nuns, they all do it. What? This is how the monks and the nuns are doing it? Yeah, it's just, life is so fascinating. So I hope this video helped to educate you guys. This was I told you it was going to be a long conversation. I had to make up for all of that lost time. Hello. Just a way, I hope this helps you in some way to improve and to just want to do the work, okay? And realize, like, don't be afraid of work. You're doing work every day. Being lazy is not fun, okay? You know, I like to relax, relax laziness and just like downtime. And I like to take it easy on my body for sure. But I love learning and I just want to like make use of my creative energies at times. And I'm just trying to figure out, I've been learning how to redirect my life force energy in positive ways to take care of myself and better prioritize certain things in my life. And I've watched how it's improved the quality of my life. But yeah, sometimes life will cause for you to take some risk, some leaps of faith. And someone who's on the other side of that tunnel, I can tell you it is worth it. But it does get intense. Like this is no joke. Like inner work is no joke. Okay. This is really intense stuff and it takes day-to-day work. It really does. If you put in the work, you'll get so much out of it. That's the beautiful thing about it. I think we are in a time of acceleration where there's just so much, we're learning so much so fast as far as consciousness goes. And that's because just energetically, we're moving at a faster pace and we can, what used to take the spiritual divine children twice as long now takes half the time to do, but you do still have to do work. So yeah, we are in this generation and in this time of instant gratification, and part of that is for a reason. We do get things quicker, but not without work. there's still work that needs to get done. And I'm still learning so much. Sometimes I don't understand. Like, I don't know if I was picked out of a lottery. Like, I don't really... If you knew about everything going on in my life, you'd be like, you did not win the lottery. What are you talking about? But sometimes I feel like I'm quite fortunate in the way things have unfolded in my life. And yeah, there have been things that have been really hard, and I will talk about it in another episode and be transparent about how difficult things have been as well. But I don't know, what surprises me is I'm eternally optimistic about things, and I think that just amazes me. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe just muscles over time. I don't know. But yeah, it does take effort, energy, consistency to be excited about life and to keep going. And sometimes we don't know how much we're capable of. We don't know how strong we are. And these past few years have really challenged me to choose my heart over my mind. And the thing is, I always felt like I'm a creative person. I'm always choosing the creative route. But when I realized, like, whoa, you can take it to this level. Like they were encouraging me. Divine was encouraging me to take it to the next level. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it because you guys are telling me I can do it. And I just wanted to know. And that's what led me forward, was just the curiosity. I just wanted to know what was going to happen. Because the alternative is I can just keep doing what I was doing and being unhappy. Otherwise, I can do this. You know, I can choose to take the advice of the divine, put in the consistent work, and see where it gets me. And it cured me of a lot of instant gratification. So the improper uses, the reason why I'm telling you guys about this is because I had those. I had every single one of those. I improperly used astrology and tarot for years. And the thing is, it's not like people get shortcuts. You know, I know some of these astrologers and tarot readers are getting lots of money. And the shortcut is they get lots of money now. But later on, they might have to pay for that karmically in some way. You just don't know. I have too much of a guilty conscience. Once I find out I'm doing something wrong that could, like, you know, have a major negative consequence, I switch things up. I'm like, I can't do that. I gotta change something, man. I don't want to experience the negative karma of doing something out of ignorance. And at this point in life, ignorance really is a choice. Like, you have all of the information, you have all of the knowledge at your fingertips if you have some sort of connection to the internet. You have all the information at your fingertips, so it's just a matter of, are you going to use it? Are you going to use it? Nothing in this world is free. That is so true. Like, nothing in this world is free. And so anyone who's painting this picture and trying to sell you a package, talking about how easy you can get something, they've deluded themselves and you. Okay? Those are just sell tactics, and you have to watch. We really have to pay attention. Like, people will use all kind of sell tactics, and it's so crazy because I thought I wanted to be like that. I'm like, oh, you know, what do I need to do to tell people to buy this product? And maybe I need to talk about it like this. And I absolutely, like, the moment I started selling stuff, I was like, I gotta back out of this. I can't do this. It feels icky to me. And some people are just very comfortable with that. And that's part of that has to do with the fact that they just have unresolved shadow energy they're not looking at, they're not acknowledging or taking accountability for. So believe me, you know, you don't have to wish punishment onto people. Karma always finds a way to balance the scales. They're just going to have to do the work to balance things out. But I'm telling you now, stop whatever habits are not helping you right now and choose better habits right now. And stay consistent with that so you can stay on track to a healthier approach to life. All right, that's the end of this spew. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like, subscribe to support. Comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. I will see you next time for another episode. Bye. Dare to believe.
creation.